Hello everyone, my name is Ivan. I live in the Russian Federation in the city of Yekaterinburg. I was trading on the MEXC exchange. My balance grew to $9,155,000 and then I was blocked. Now MEX doesn't want to return the funds, coming up with made up excuses, in my opinion. They have no evidence, so basically I just got scammed. On my end, I have all the proof. The addresses of my wallets are in the green zone. There is a low level of risk. In other words, I have all the screenshots and documents. So I can provide everything from my side, but why MEX doesn't want to provide any proof is a big question for me.
So we've ended up in quite an interesting situation. We'll try to figure out why MEXC, the cryptocurrency exchange, is blocking the account. It's a fairly large sum. The story is intriguing, and let's hope that MEX makes the right decision and unblocks it. Otherwise, we'll be forced to spread the information as widely as possible. I think it's the right thing to do to talk about the risks involved in trading on centralized exchanges, especially ones like MEXC.
I've actually been familiar with cryptocurrency for quite a while, but I wasn't a holder of crypto because I've always been a freelancer my whole life. So I'm a freelancer. I started out as a copywriter, then became a designer, and later worked in contextual advertising. And basically my acquaintances had both gold and Liberty Reserve, but they all shut down at the same time and money was lost there, including mine. And when people told me that Bitcoin had appeared and that you could get into it, invest in it, I was pretty skeptical about it. But it kept growing and other altcoins started to appear as well, basically. And in February 2020, I sold a piece of real estate. I ended up with a large sum of money on hand, and I decided to invest part of it in buying cryptocurrency. In other words, to invest. I understood that it was very risky, but I still decided to allocate a portion of my money for this. And in March 2020, I bought 5 Bitcoins at the price of $5,500 per Bitcoin and 300 Ethers at the price of $120 per Ether. And just a year later, in May 2021, I couldn't resist and decided to sell most of my Ethers at the price of around $4,000. But mainly, I still had Bitcoin, Ether, and digital dollars left, as well as BNB, which I later started investing on the exchange. Over a year ago, I was talking with my friend and he told me that he had started trading futures on the exchange. I was surprised because this was a new and unexplored topic for me. I started asking him questions about how it all worked, and he said that he had already been trading for 2 months, trading successfully, and showed me screenshots from X with quite substantial earnings. He said that I could do the same thing. I asked him if he had withdrawn any funds from the exchange after such successful trades. He said that he had received the money, everything was fine. I said, all right, then give me your referral link, I'll register. That was my first exchange. I mean, I had never registered or traded anywhere before. The exchange immediately asked me to complete basic verification. I went through it because I had nothing to hide.
You have Russian documents, is that right?
Of course. I have only one citizenship. I decided to use my driver's license. I registered on May 23, 2024. So it turns out it was just over a year ago. And the next day, on May 24, 2024, I deposited $30,000 and opened 2 trades. That is, I decided to open long positions on top meme coins. These were PEEP and Doge. So I used leverage 50 times long position and about $1,000 for each trade. The balance was growing. I thought to myself, wow, cool, this is really easy and simple. Then some news came out, something happened in the Middle East, and everything crashed for me, and within a few hours I was liquidated. So it turned out it wasn't as easy as I imagined. But then my gambling instinct kicked in. I thought, well, I lost $30,000. I mean, my balance was growing after all. If I deposit money again now and place a bet, I'll make up for that loss and earn more. I deposited 15 again, then another 7.5. I was adding money in parts, like topping up my budget. So I just kept depositing. And I figured that I just had a small balance because I was trading with cross margin. I thought the liquidation happened because I had a small balance on the exchange. So I decided to deposit more funds. Again, I opened long positions. Only this time I increased the leverage. I was already thinking I'll use the maximum leverage. And then once again, another liquidation. Hello, then another one and another one. Basically, in August, everything was trading just perfectly for me. You could say I had already closed all my positions. I set a take profit and almost all my losses were recovered. I thought I would recover all my losses, break even, and leave the exchange because, well, it was psychologically tough. whether something is going up or down, whether I need to add more funds or close a trade. So it was actually quite emotionally difficult. At night, while I was sleeping, everything was going well, but then something happened in Japan with some bank, as far as I remember. In short, I had another liquidation happened in August of last year. I realized that I was trading the wrong way. I needed to rethink everything. I started studying some materials about trading on the exchange. I started watching YouTube and reading bloggers. Basically, I took a break in November of last year. There was real euphoria in the market. Everything was going up. There was hype, bull run. I thought this is my chance to get back on the exchange and win back all my liquidations. And since I had already completed verification on MEXC, I decided to go back to it, deposited funds on MEXC again, and opened long positions once more on Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, on the main assets this time. And I traded for about a month. So my balance was gradually increasing and my positions almost closed at take profit again. Then again, at night, while I was sleeping, everything crashed once more. There was some kind of big dump in the market and my positions got liquidated again. I wake up and my balance is zero. But I can't believe my eyes. I think it's some kind of bug, a glitch on MEXC. I check and it's zero. I think there are no emails, no messages from MEXC about liquidation, yet my balance is zero. I still have free $100,000 left in my wallet, the last money I can invest. I think for a few days and decide to go all in. I deposited those $100,000 into MEXC and opened just one trade. I analyzed all my trades and realized that I would open a long position on Pepe with maximum leverage, definitely set a stop loss, then move it to break even and watch how the situation develops. I opened the trade. The balance was growing. Then I opened a second trade, Doge, also with maximum leverage. The most interesting thing is that a few days before the new year, I had some terrible drawdowns there. I started closing almost all the trades, left just a few open, and the balance dropped below the initial deposit. I'm analyzing everything again. Then it seemed like there was a rebound, so I started opening trades again. Basically, I couldn't allow myself to lose everything at the very end. In the first days of January this year, my long positions actually started generating decent profits. And by around the 7th or 8th of January, my balance was exactly the amount I had previously lost. In other words, I basically broke even. And after that, I started trading consistently in the black. Then I closed all my long positions, seeing that everything had already hit the ceiling. By then, I had learned how to read these trends and charts. I set up short positions everywhere in advance. And with those shorts, my earnings really started to take off. At that point, I didn't have 950,000 anymore, but 2 million. Then I opened long positions, reached 3 million, then switched back to shorts and got to 4 million. And that's how I kept trading until January 19th. I wanted to open another trade, a long position on the official Trump coin, but to my surprise, I couldn't do it. There was a notification saying that opening trades was prohibited. Please contact customer support. So I wrote to customer support. At that time, I had the highest VIP level. I wrote to them and said, why can't I open trades? Please explain it to me. They replied that now I needed to complete advanced verification and send a utility bill. So I sent all the documents and then the waiting began. On the 4th day of waiting, I received an email saying that due to anomalies in trading, my account was restricted for 180 days. At that point, I was just shocked. 180 days. I thought it was a typo or something. I asked customer support and they said, yes, that's correct, 180 days. I started searching Google for similar cases. At that time, I couldn't find any. Everywhere, people mentioned 30 days risk control. Few people mentioned 60 days of risk control, but mine is 180. I write to my friend who invited me to the exchange. He says, I'll get in touch with my manager right now. He had a personal manager. Her name is Leila. He got in touch with her. We created a chat in Telegram. I wrote out everything, how I traded, included screenshots, explained everything. She read it. All right, I understand everything, she said. A responsible person will join the chat and he will definitely help sort things out. Mr. Derek joins the chat. He immediately introduced himself as the head of the client relations department. And in his very first message, he told me that I needed to fly to Singapore for verification, but there is an alternative method.
How did he explain that he was inviting you to Singapore? Why isn't online verification sufficient? Because that's quite a surprising and rare requirement, very rare for crypto exchanges. This is the first time I've ever heard of something like this.
At that moment, he didn't explain anything to me. He said they were simply inviting me to their office in Singapore for verification and to discuss our further cooperation. In other words, they would offer me some bonuses or something else there. That's how he motivated it. But he said there was an alternative method. So I thanked him and said that I couldn't fly due to medical reasons and my health condition. To which he replied, okay, then send me your bank statements. I gathered all my bank statements from different banks, requested them everywhere, and sent them to him. He said, okay, now send me a medical certificate confirming that you can't fly. Of course, by then I was already surprised. I spoke with my attending physician and explained I was being invited to Singapore like this. They issued me a new certificate. In the evening, I came home, took a photo of it, and sent it to him. He looked it over and said, all right, in 5 to 7 days, we need to have a call. There will be an interview over the phone with representatives from the exchange.
Why exactly can't you fly? I mean, can we mention this illness so the viewers understand?
At the end of 2017, we were wrapping up the motorcycle season and I had a really bad fall. I hit my back and my head. Now, I have very high intracranial pressure and a bunch of other side effects. I'm currently undergoing a type of therapy called itemized quantitative monitoring. This is a prescription and it must be left at the pharmacy. So even before this, I wanted to sit down and rest at our customs because with my medications, they wouldn't let me through. In other words, if I want to risk my health, I have to travel without them. So I explained all of this to Derek that I just can't. I've been on this treatment since 2018 and it's unclear when it will end. So I wait for 5 days preparing for this interview and then Derek writes that there won't be any interview, only an in-person visit to Singapore. Let me send my representative to you that is with a notarized power of attorney so that he can act on my behalf and this person will fly over. He says, no, only your personal visit. We need to meet in the office and conduct the interview. Until you personally come to Singapore, your account will remain blocked. I say, excuse me, my account has been blocked for 180 days now, so it should expire in July. Am I correct in understanding that in July you still won't unblock my account if I don't come before that date? He says, yes, the block will become indefinite. Right now, I have $9,155,000 in my account, of which 1,200,000 are in losing trades. Because when I first got restricted, I managed to open several long positions, but I can't average them out. I asked them, I said, please unlock my account. I want to trade and you'll earn commissions from my transactions. I just want to trade. I need to buy more positions to average out my entry point so that if there's a rebound or growth in altcoins, my trades could at least close at break even. So they're still open since January and I don't want to close them right now because, well, that would mean a loss of about 1.2 million. I'm hoping that the market will recover at least to the January levels. Maybe not now, but in the fall. That's why I currently have about 6 open trades. Altogether, they're showing a loss of 1.2 million. The only thing I asked them for was to unblock my account so I could trade, not because I was planning to immediately withdraw everything and run away. I didn't write that to them. I said, please just unblock it. I want to trade. Maybe I will withdraw, but only in small amounts if it matters to you that I might take out such liquidity all at once. So I wrote that to them as well. I said, or at least give me back my deposits that I've made over all this time. And as for the profit I have, so subtract the million in deposits in total, leave the rest of the profit, let it stay under review since you consider this abnormal trading. So while I was trading at a loss last year, losing money with the same maximum leverage on cross margin, there were no questions for me, no risk control at all. As soon as I started making a steady profit, I immediately started getting blocked. So basically, they refused to give me a phone interview. Derek literally gave me an ultimatum. I'm concerned for my health and my life in general. During my interactions with the exchange representatives, I was personally invited to Singapore 6 times. So this makes me have some strange thoughts. How could this end for me? What's really behind all this? Why do I personally have to come? Can't we just talk over the phone? Your terms of use don't say that a person has to fly in personally. There's basic verification and there's advanced verification. I successfully passed both the first and the second. Derek tells me that it's a requirement from the regulator. I say, which regulator? And where can I read about this officially? Another 5 days go by with phone calls, and then I receive an official email stating that there is an investigation concerning me and my account by the US, specifically the Office of Foreign Assets Control regarding sanctions. So again, I messaged Derek on Telegram asking him to comment. He says, yes, that's right, there is an investigation. I asked him to provide confirmation, like the case number of this investigation and what kind of request was made by the US, because I have never been to the US, never had any dealings with them. He says he can't provide me with anything, that there is just some kind of secret investigation going on. Fine, I found it myself. I found the official website of this department myself. On this site, there are sanction lists of individuals and legal entities. There is a search by first and last name. I enter my first and last name and search. Of course, I didn't find myself on this list. There aren't even any people with the same last name as me there. There is also a list of activities provided on this site. If you engage in these activities, you might end up on the sanctions lists. Of course, I have never done any of that, and I am not doing it now. I write a letter to Derek and say, I found the site, I'm not on it. Please provide me with confirmation. I need some kind of documentation. In response, I get an email from technical support saying that now the official blocking period has been extended to 1 year. But that's only the estimated period. In other words, they can extend it for as long as they want. Derek writes that this investigation from the US side could last for years, plural, years. And again, at the same time, they invite me to Singapore. He says, while the investigation is ongoing, come visit us, we'll meet and have a talk. However, your visit won't affect anything. In other words, we still have to wait until the investigation is over, whenever that may be. And basically, everything will depend on how this investigation ends, what verdict they reach. I found a law firm, they agreed to take my case, and they spent a long time studying all the details, the nuances, the correspondence. They drafted an initial letter and sent it to asking for a response within 21 days. There were several questions in it. 21 days go by, there is no response. I messaged Derek on Telegram, and the lawyers sent another letter requesting a reply. About a week after this additional letter, a response finally arrives. They confirm that I am a trader on MEXC, that I have an account there, but that the account is currently undergoing a risk control review, but they don't answer the other questions. They simply ignore them. The main question was whether it is standard practice for them to invite traders to Singapore. In other words, they didn't answer that either. Then there's also the investigation from the US side. Legally, they are based in Singapore and the Seychelles. At the very least, they could have provided official documentation, since we're talking about a freeze that could last for years and quite a large sum of money stuck there. If they had said, for example, that they suspect me of this, and this or that, in their opinion, I am guilty of something specific. Or if they had told me which regulator is demanding this, where I can review the information so that everything would be transparent and fair, I wouldn't have any questions for them. But as it is, I just feel deceived. From the very beginning, I was promised that there was an alternative way to resolve my issues without having to fly to Singapore. They collected all my confidential information, every possible certificate they could ask for. They promised me an interview over the phone, but then they just refused and gave me an ultimatum, knowing full well that I simply can't comply.
This looks like a complete scam. They just don't want to return the money. They're looking for a fake excuse to formally reject the request. That's all there is to it. Basically, it's all pretty obvious. I mean, there's no evidence, no sanctions, no supporting documents. So all their claims are just meaningless. They cannot prove that there is an investigation by American authorities. So, of course, this is a scam. And I truly think that we have every right to openly and publicly accuse the MEXC exchange of being a scam, and to speak openly and honestly about it, and to spread this important story, because this is a clear and undeniable sign of blatant fraud that absolutely has no place whatsoever in our industry.
At this point, I don't know how to proceed. For now, the lawyers are preparing some additional materials, but as you can see, there's no supporting information that this investigation is actually happening. So on my part, of course, I've sent a request to this US department in free form, but they also require you to provide these numbers. That is the number under which your deposit was blocked and some supporting document. That's why I asked MEXC to provide me with this supporting information. I'll take it and go to the US department to find out the truth, how they found me, how in general, since to them I'm basically Mr. Nobody, I'm waiting for a response. Their response could take up to 3 months. So as soon as there is any additional information, I will definitely let you know. For now, I'm just waiting. And the lawyers are preparing something as well, some documents for the arbitration court, but they told me right away, you understand that most likely they won't even show up to this court. So it will just be my representatives, and that's it. Because I spoke with other lawyers, and they say they spent 7 months writing letters, going to court, and their representatives never showed up. In general, this is a drawn-out story, to be honest. It really can drag on for years.
Yes, absolutely. It will go on for years if MEXC doesn't want to resolve it, so to speak, more quickly, given that the entire community and all the influencers who promote and bring people to these exchange traders, like you were brought in to make money off them, will simply turn away from them. Only in that case might they want to resolve this issue, if they're simply afraid that everyone will stop trading on their exchange altogether. Because in general, it's already known that MEXC is not the most reliable exchange. I've also heard stories like this, but it's the first time I've seen it happen with such a large amount. This is a very striking story, and eventually the community will react, and there will be a large-scale, viral response. At the very least, we will strive to make that happen.
I want to wish everyone to trade only on trusted exchanges. I also want to wish everyone not to get carried away, to trade with proper risk management, and in general not to chase after big money. I also wish everyone successful trading, and may it always be profitable. And may your deposits be returned to you along with your profits so that you don't fall victim to scams. May everything go well for everyone. Take care of yourselves and stay healthy.